Welcome to the Beyond the Bucket Show, a podcast centered around optimizing all life's buckets. We all have buckets we are balancing: coaching, entrepreneurial ventures, family, passion projects, and health. Let's all take this journey together and become bucket fillers. And here's your host, Chris McSwain.
The coronavirus has changed all of our lives. For some, the damage will be devastating. Jobs lost, family and loved ones gone, and our entire lives as we've known them changed. For others, they will be able to weather the storm and hopefully begin to start a new normal once this pandemic passes. There are still lots of questions that we all have. This podcast is dedicated to giving our perspective. We are not experts, nor claim to be, but hopefully it will give you some light during the darkness. Before we start, if you have 60 seconds after this podcast is over, please make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast with your friends. Helps me bring on more guests to help us all become better bucket fillers. Welcome to the Beyond the Bucket Show. I'm your host, Chris McSwain. I'm here with my good friend, Alex Sarrett. What's up, my brother?
How you doing, brother? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, this is a special edition, so we're excited to talk about something that's happening to all of us right now, which is the coronavirus, COVID-19. It's really changed the way we are moving every single day. And, our friendship has changed, our whole life has changed with our family. So, hopefully we're going to be here to shed some insight on what we're doing to help others.
Absolutely, yeah. Just unprecedented times, and it's good to bounce ideas and things we're doing off one another, and keeping our relationship strong and trying to thrive through this interesting situation. So
definitely
happy to talk about everything, man.
Oh man, I hear you. So just a disclaimer for everybody: we are not experts on any of this stuff. We're just talking to you from our personal opinion, and everybody's boat is going to be different. And so we're just going to let you know where we're coming from because so many people have it so different. Before we start, I want to read something that was shared on Twitter regarding the COVID-19. And this is from Shad E. McGuire. And he said, "We are all in the same storm, but not the same boat. For some, this is like spring and we are enjoying the family time. For others, it's like a thunderstorm, which has them on edge. And finally, for some of us, this is like a hurricane and the roof may be ready to blow away at any moment." Alan Stein wrote, he loved this perspective. "While we were all in this together, the crisis will affect many people and much differently. Your perspective is highly personal. This is why we all need to be respectful, empathetic, and compassionate." So, I just want to state that everybody's going to be handling this thing differently. I know, personally, I know friends that don't have jobs anymore because maybe they were in the service industry, whether that be barbers, whether that be hairdressers, whether that be people that run gyms. One of my friends is a CrossFit owner. He's not able to run his everyday practice and has come to, online sort of platforms like Zoom, which we're on right now. And it's just crazy to think that so many people are going to be affected in this way. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, being somebody that's directly affected, my family's directly affected, with my wife being a hairstylist and out of work, overcoming these challenges has taken a little bit of creativity, a lot of patience, and really just trying to navigate through unprecedented times.
Yeah.
I know for her, it was very stressful initially. We're really lucky to have a very balanced support team and have made good decisions financially up to this point. And so we're in good shape. But like you said, there's plenty of people that are really struggling with their new set of circumstances because really there's no previous experiences to go off of. So
Yeah.
For us, it's really been about, leaning on our support system and having each other's backs through this whole thing. And so
Right.
I'm sure, you're experiencing similar things as well.
Yeah. Speaking from the educational background, I know we're both at private schools, but the public school system was really, I wouldn't say behind, but they just weren't set up for a situation like this to be teaching through distance education.
Mhm.
And I know that they've had a long process, and, talking to a couple of my friends that are school teachers in the public school system, they weren't even able to do anything. And actually the work isn't actually required for them. They're just now getting set up with certain things online with Zoom and whatnot, but the kids don't have to turn in the assignments, and it's basically voluntary. So if the parents want them to do it, great. But the students that maybe not, maybe don't have internet access, or
Yeah.
or don't speak English in their family, like it's a really, really, really difficult time for them, especially. You got any thoughts on that?
Well, I think, at the school I work at, everybody's equipped with a device that the school issues for them to be able to do distance learning. But,
Right.
my mom was assistant superintendent at the local unified school district here. And, she knows that people that lack a fluency really are struggling during these times because they don't necessarily have devices or internet or a stable living environment to be able to hop online and get assignments done. So, those communities are really severely impacted, and it's very humbling to experience that and see it from the different perspective. I know the school that I work at made a big donation with a bunch of iPads to schools that are in less fortunate situations. So it's
Yeah.
nice to see communities kind of coming together to help out those situations. But again, it's really only a small piece of the actual needs that people are experiencing right now.
Right. And I think this is going to affect a lot of things, our economy. We're in the, Silicon Valley, so it's much different from other areas. A lot of people are able to work from home, and maybe not as much job loss has occurred here in this area because people are working remotely. But I can just imagine if you are living in a rural area and you have to go to work and you're a non-essential business, and now you're stuck, and what do you do? The stimulus money might not come for a number of weeks. Who knows how you apply and how it all takes place. So it's just scary times.
Sure.
Looking forward to it. What other areas is it going to affect? I mean, it's already affected our day to day. We're coaches, so we see. We're used to watching games around this time. March Madness would have just ended. Actually, today this would have been the championship game, and it's just unprecedented times. What other areas do you see that are going to be affected?
Well, just even look at your day-to-day operations of how you would go get groceries or how you would go, get your car serviced. Everything's different, right? I mean, just yesterday, my wife ordered some stuff online at Target, and I'm headed out there with a mask on for the first
Right.
time. And
Yeah.
that's just such an odd and kind of scary way to go about just handling your day-to-day life, all the concerns and precautions that are necessary but still brand new. That adjustment period's been pretty interesting for me personally, and I'm sure plenty of other folks as well.
Yeah, it is weird because, we'll take walks and we'll try to go support the local businesses and buy some food. And you don't really, you don't even know what the protocol is going to be like when you're in line. You see some of these
Totally.
people, some people got masks on, some people don't. They give you a pen to sign. I almost don't even want to touch the pen.
Right,
It's
totally.
so crazy. Like, it was just an eerie feeling. We're, sitting, at a spot that is always going to be packed at the prune yard, close to us, and there's nobody there. The only thing that's open are a few of the restaurants and the Pete's Coffee,
Hmm.
and it is a ghost town. And it would,
Oh yeah.
on a spring afternoon when it was sunny last week, it would be littered with people, and now you just can't do it.
Oh yeah. Same perspective over on my side of town with Oak Ridge Mall. I went to that Target right there, and it's empty,
Wow.
and it's just weird. Totally weird. Like you said, eerie is the best word to describe it because it almost seems like it's something out of a movie.
Right. What do you think this is going to lead us in the future? I mean, I think everything, the way we actually live our day-to-day lives is going to change a lot.
I agree. Yeah, I think for us being on the side of education, it really shows you the capabilities of remote learning. So you wonder if some of the high school curriculum is going to start trending in that direction,
Yeah.
and you know, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. You know, I'm in constant communication with the players that I coach, and I think some of them actually prefer this distance learning. Now, again, they're not getting the advantages of the social element, but in terms of you know, being able to understand content and be efficient in their working, I think some of this remote learning has been really beneficial. So just on that side alone, I can see education trending in the remote direction a lot more than it has in the past.
Right. I see it at the, you know, whenever this ends, it could be a month, it could be 2 months, it could be 6 months. Just the way we take things so much for granted, you know, like if we were gonna set up a dinner or something, like, oh, you know, I don't know, I got this, I got that, I got family stuff, and it's like
Mhm.
now you might really try to take priority in that because everybody's on the Zoom chat for, you know, get-togethers or the wine hour, like my wife and her friends, and you know, we'll hop on the Zoom and stuff like that. But it's just going to be different when we get back. And how long is it going to take for us to go back to the way that things were normal? I don't even know
Right.
if we're going to even be able to call it normal. Do we still wear gloves after this is over? Are we still going to wear masks? Are we going to be worried about who we come in contact with? Are we just not going to deal with strangers?
Right. Yeah. Is everyone going to be comfortable going out to a restaurant for a meal? You know, are these group gatherings going to be as relaxed in terms of people taking precautions that they have been in the past? You know, all
Right.
these unknown questions. And really, I think you're touching on it too, but connecting with people that you haven't necessarily, for whatever reason, had time to connect with over our busy schedules has been huge during this pandemic and this, you know, the shelter in place. Because I know personally, I've talked to friends that, you know, through the course of the basketball season, you talk to very infrequently, and now it's on a weekly basis, which really gives you perspective on how much those relationships mean and matter. And I
Right.
think that that's been a kind of a hidden blessing through all of this for me personally.
No doubt. I talk to my mom every single day, my grandma every single day on the FaceTime,
Yep.
and I normally wouldn't do that. We would be in communication, but not like what we're doing now.
Right. Yeah. Me too. Same thing. FaceTimes every day. You know, the grandparents are definitely vulnerable right now. So them not being able to visit my daughter is definitely taxing on them. So, you know, really trying to keep that day-to-day communication going has been important.
Right. So, what are you guys doing as your family, you know, to cope with some of these things, to just stay sharp and not allow some of the things to like hinder us, you know, and there's a lot, right?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of it's a fluid thing with my family right now because we have a 7-month-old daughter, and so really, you know, her needs take priority. But in terms of you know, what me and my wife try to do is definitely staying in contact with our friends via Zoom. You know, every couple of days, getting our workouts in, trying to eat healthy, trying to cook at home as much as possible. Really trying to develop a solid and healthy routine. I've been trying to read a lot, you know, those types of things to really stay sharp and ready to go once this whole thing ends. I think, you know, us as an organization, we've really been trying to stay ahead of the curve, and strategizing and game planning with that has been big. I know that, you know, our conversations have been pretty productive in terms of deciding what we're going to do and what angle we're going to take once this whole thing ends. And I think that's just been great. I think being able to prioritize things that you might not necessarily have time to, and really using this time to get ahead of the game is huge, you know.
Definitely. That's a great point, because I think the people that, you know, and there, I just want to temper my comments like this. There's going to be people that this really takes out, you know, depression is going to be skyrocketing. I just see a lot of anxiety once, you know, this thing continues. And so I want to be conscientious to that. But just for me personally, I'm trying to make the most of this entire situation and not be behind the curve when it's over. So I'm trying to put myself and my family ahead of the curve. So what are we doing? You know, we went and purchased some weights so we can work out. We want to move. My wife just had our second child, so she's doing upper body stuff. I'm doing full body stuff. We try to map out a time or at least an hour each where we can get that workout in while juggling and managing 2 kids.
Oh, yeah.
Secondly, we take family walks often. The other thing that we do is we limit our TV consumption. Last week we probably averaged maybe 2 hours a day. So one time in the afternoon and then one time in the evening when we're watching the show. So we've really tried to decrease that. She started taking some online courses through Yale. I started doing this podcast because I'm the type of person that needs to be doing things. I started reading more, started writing more, listening to podcasts, just trying to better myself and be more well-rounded. So when this thing is over, our family is going to be ready to get back on the treadmill, so to speak, and not allow this to take us away. Secondly, we can never, ever, ever, ever get this time that we have now. Like, we would be coaching, we would be working, we would be teaching, all those things that take away from our family time, we would never, ever be able to get that. So just like in that quote that I read from the tweet, like, this is like almost like a family reunion of some sorts for us. And I'm so thankful that we actually have the time. I hate the fact that we're forced to do this, but I'm taking every minute and being blessed because of it, and just looking for those outliers of the things that like are very meaningful to your earlier point.
I mean, for us, and there's no way to quantify this, but within the past week, my daughter's learned how to clap and crawl. And is that time that we're both interacting with Ava that we wouldn't have any other way or any other situation. The reason why, hard to quantify, but you can't help but think like the benefits that this is having on her at this early stage in her life is huge. And so I think just a fantastic point made about, you don't get this time back, and you just really have to treasure it and make the most of it despite the, the circumstances.
No doubt. So let's talk about, some of the people that, we're trying to help. One would be students and student athletes in particular. What are some of the things that they can do to help better themselves? So when this thing is over, I mean, they should probably think that it's going, or in my mind, people should start thinking like, hey, this isn't going to get better, and athletics isn't going to come back for high school or club until maybe like August or September.
Yeah, I think, we both joke around about this as coaches, but there's absolutely no reason for one of our high school basketball players not to have the tightest handle possible once you come back. Because really, if you're serious about your game and developing, there's so much content online you can access, and all you need is a ball, and all you need is some willpower and some effort. And I know you're probably doing this for your players as well as I am. I've made myself available to be there for questions or FaceTimes or Zooms or whatever you need to be available to help them on their games. We've really reached out and tried to make that available to all of our players. I know we're really utilizing Huddle to kind of show what our playbook might look like for next year, and areas that our players can improve upon so they hit the ground running. And there really should be no excuses why not. I know it's challenging to, maybe go get shots up, or it's challenging to work on your explosive stuff that you would get if you were, in the gym doing squats. But staying in shape, working on your handle, working on your mind and your basketball IQ, that stuff's all available. So really, it's important for our players to take advantage of this time.
Yeah, I've been telling a lot of people this that I talk to just as coaches. I said, and I'm telling my players is, those people that don't do anything are going to be extremely exposed. Those people that are doing things, whether that be, it doesn't have to be a lot. If you just put an hour in a day as something to try to better yourself basketball wise, and also I think the movement piece is the human performance side of things is very important. But I think if you put an hour a day in, you're going to be ahead. Like, you have so much time right now. The hard part is, and we both know this, I mean, I'm trying to work out by myself a lot of the times, coming up with different things. It's so hard to motivate yourself And that is going to be the separator. Those people that don't need the outside motivation, they don't need a coach down, down their throat all the time. Those are the players that are going to be extremely successful when this thing is over and said and done with. And if you don't work on those things, like you mentioned, your mindset, like start strengthening your mind, study the game, watch film, like you mentioned, and also communicating with your coaches, letting them know that you've been, what you've been doing or what you haven't. Don't let the coaches have their own lives as well, and they can't keep continuously reach out to, 12 to 15 players every single day or even every single week. And it would be very difficult, so we would love to hear from our players. And I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, no doubt. I think too, kind of one of the hidden things that people have sort of discussed is the missed opportunity with the spring AAU season. So like, we have seniors that are unsigned that could have really benefited from these past couple months of being able to play AAU. So my advice to them has been to really take this time to put together a nice highlight package and some stats and a nice, well-written, document to be able to send the coaches essentially a resume, and really, take the time to send that out and reach out to these college coaches if you're interested in playing at whatever level, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and and then CC the coaches on there, and we can be in communication. I know personally I've talked to about 4 or 5 coaches daily since this thing has started about trying to get players of ours located in certain situations. And I think the advice sent out to the kids is really be proactive in trying to cultivate those relationships and start them up. So, I can't stress how important enough that is right now.
Definitely. I guess we were lucky this year. We only had 3 seniors. Only one wanted to play on at the next level. She's already committed this year, so that was good for her. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be no visits. You can
Zero. Zero visits.
The visits are shut down until the minimum May 31st. So you're not going to be able to get on campus. So you're going to have to make your decision, and you're just going to have to go with it. Also, the transfer portal is off the chain.
Off the chain.
The transfer portal has created a whole level of recruiting. Almost, if you have an extra spot every single year as a coach now, they all are holding it for a transfer, grad transfer, whatever it may be, because they know there's players that are already qualified to be at that level. They're if you're a high school kid, they're going out on a limb to saying, yeah, we think you can play at this level. Well, the transfers, they've already shown that they can play at that level. And if you haven't been able to do that, it's going to be difficult for you now. If you're a fringe player, a fringe college player, whatever level it is, now it's very important that, you got to cultivate those relationships, to your earlier point. And also, don't shut down these coaches. Like if any coach reaches out to you, make sure you hit them back up.
Man,
like it's the easiest thing. And if you're not really interested, just let them know so they can stop wasting their time, and you can stop having your time wasted by somebody, approaching you that you don't want to go to their school.
No doubt. Same advice we give out yearly, it seems like, right? And it's kind of disheartening sometimes to see some of these kids really kind of big time people trying to give you a free education. So really my advice is just to be as transparent with your intentions as possible as a player, and then really try to ask the questions that are going to get you the answers you want. How do I fit into a system with this team? What other offers do you have out? What's the positionings look like? How would I, get the ball in these situations? And I think, a college coach that's interested in having you as part of their program is going to take the time to answer those questions. So for our players, it's got to not be about hype and ego, and more about fit and how you're going to spend your 4 years.
Hello.
I think so many people get lost in that mind. So it's really important to be real with these kids and give them the proper advice in terms of how to go about trying to be recruited or play college basketball.
No doubt. So let's jump into some of the things that people should be staying away from or minimizing during this time.
Yeah, for me, it's the social media beast is a enticing thing and easy to get lost in, but also just so counterproductive to your day to day, right? I mean, uh, you can flip through app to app to app to try to entertain yourself, but really, what kind of content are you reading, and how is that making you prepared for,
Man.
going back to regular life? I think one of the hardest things that kids fall into is that they post these things, they want this instant gratification, and that's how they give themselves a pat on the back, where the accomplishments get minimized because you're worried about the wrong things. So I think,
Right.
for me, social media is a big one to kind of stay off of. Make complacencies, and that kind of falls into the social media thing too. Is just find ways to really get out of your comfort zone in your comfort zone, right? You're in your home. How do you get out of your comfort zone and grow yourself?
Yeah. And if, my kids aren't of age to where they're on social media right now, but if I was the parent, I would definitely be monitoring
Mm.
what they are intaking on a day-to-day basis. It's the same thing as the type of food that you're putting in your body. If we put in bad food in our body, like if we're eating, fast food every single day, well, what does that do to our body? It depletes it. Whereas if we're eating fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, grains, all of those things, it's going to, strengthen our body. It's the same thing with our minds. We're basically getting empty calories when we're consuming that social media. And I know that the three that are huge right now, TikTok is probably taken over as the number one social media outlet for, kids or adolescents. I would say
Right.
probably from age 12 to 17, 18 years old. I mean, I just see so much of that. Second would be the Snapchat because, it supposedly goes away, but we all know that it doesn't. And third is going to be the Instagram and all that. And, there is a place for it. I'm on it every now and again. I've been trying to post, what I'm doing, eating right, or workouts, just to help motivate people. So if you do check out the Instagram, great. And, maybe you're motivated by that. But when you're consumed with so much rhetoric that doesn't add value to your life, it's basically taken away from you, and I always say this: well, there's four things that are going to come into your life. They're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Okay. I'm looking to add and multiply. I don't want things to be divided, and I don't want things subtracted, right?
No doubt.
So the social media is doing that. But what I'm trying to do is I hardly ever post, but this is a time I'm like, okay, I'm going to start posting. I'm trying to add maybe to somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it multiplies there and goes beyond that. Who knows? But I'm just putting it out there in the existence. A lot of the stuff that they're intaking doesn't do any of the things to help you. So, yeah.
I just think too, like, I want to be surrounded by positivity, and you're on Twitter, or even YouTube, and you get down the rabbit hole of the comment sections, and it just seems like so much hate, and people just being so negative about whatever, like even like cool accomplishments. Or you'll go and look at a mixtape of a kid that's balling out, and then go check the comments. There's bound to be one in there that's hating on some high school kid trying to do his thing. Like, I just can't pump my mind full of that content and feel good about myself, reading it. I want to be surrounded by motivational, positive thinking, and how is, a kid puts that highlight tape up. Well, he wants people to recognize him for his abilities and talents. Why wouldn't you big up that kid? I just think getting away from that negative mindset is just so important. And one of the things that's the hard part about social media. Now, there's a bunch of good things. I mean, I'm on Twitter, and Twitter gives me a lot of news that I read, and that's great, and it's a useful tool. But again, I think in moderation is just so important.
Two real quick things I would like to say. One is try to eat healthy. I know I do the intermittent fasting, so I don't eat till 12 and I stop eating at 8. So that allows me to kind of eat what I want throughout the day and not intake too many calories. So I know that works for me personally. If you want to do some research on it, go ahead. But basically, I'll only eat for 12 hours and then I'm not eating for 16 hours a day. The second thing is, like early on when this happened, we were watching the news. Like the news just stayed on. We might be on the computer doing whatever, but the news stayed on. We're only watching the news for a little bit now because, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, that so much negativity can be brought in by the news, and all these people are saying what they say. And we live in a hot take era where it's like, I need to say this, I need to say this. And, the Surgeon General was on this morning talking about this could be like 9/11 or the Great Depression and all these things. It's like, I told my wife, I said, we're done watching this stuff.
Yeah. How's that helping me?
Yeah.
How is that helping me? I
Um,
agree, man. We're limiting our consumption of that as well, and really just trying to stay positive, and watch things that are uplifting if we are watching TV, and if not, having genuine conversations with ourselves and trying to really help Ava out.
Yep. During the quarantine, family life is going to be different. There's going to be parents that are now teachers, which is crazy. I know, like, when we got two, you got one, and it's just so different when you got to have them in the house all the time. You're trying to find
No
stuff
doubt.
for them to do. I can only imagine what some parents are going through. So, we just really feel for you. We're in the same boat. Well, we're in the same storm, not in the same boat, like we mentioned before. But yeah, it's just crazy. But balancing that time, you better really like your family, I hope, because you're going to be spending a lot of time together. I'm glad I love my spouse and I'm glad we're friends too,
No doubt.
because I can just hang out with her all day and she's great to be around. And sometimes you are going to need your space too. It's cool. Like, she's in the other room right now, the baby, and I'm doing this, but you got to have that time for yourself too, or go on a walk by yourself, or just get out, while being safe, of course. But yeah.
I mean, I'm sure your wife feels the same as mine, but us hoop heads have hoop on a lot. I think for my wife, she definitely needs her own time to kind of do her own thing and watch her own stuff and live her own life and, explore her own interests. So it's nice to be able to kind of go into different rooms and do our own thing. But again, like you said, I'm so happy that I married the right person, and that's why our relationship is so functional, and it's so easy to get through this with somebody that's strong and supportive and great to talk with and everything. So we're very blessed.
Definitely. I heard this from one of our other friends, and they mentioned asking your spouse in the morning, what is the one thing you need to do for yourself today? And so we've been trying to do that, and most of the time it's just like working out. Hey, I need to work out for an hour. I need to do this podcast, or she'll tell me I need an hour of sleep because we've got a 3-week-old and a 2.5-year-old. So
That's sleep.
thing is crazy. But yeah, just moving on to the communication during this. Everybody, stay in touch with your family and friends. Secondly, I would say for the players, stay in touch with your coaches. If you're talking to college coaches as well, make sure you stay in touch with them.
And your teammates, man.
And your
teammates.
Hello, and your teammates.
Like, I bet, and I'm the same way. I got friends to this day that I played high school basketball with. Those are lifetime friendships that are so important, and you don't necessarily have that perspective at 16, 17, 18 years old. But man, when you look back on it, and to this day, I have friends that I've been friends with for multiple decades that I played high school basketball with. So
Right.
really, keep in touch with those folks.
Yes, indeed. So give me your 3 top binge-worthy shows during the quarantine, shelter in place.
So we've been checking out Ozark, and that's a crazy show, but very entertaining. All American, and then we've watched those two primarily, and then a little bit of Dave.
Dave.
About the rapper Little Dicky on
Oh
Hulu.
yeah.
Check that
Okay.
out. Yeah. Check that out. It's funny.
All right. So we got caught just like everybody else
Oh
watching the
yeah,
Tiger
Tiger
King.
King for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, because we're educators and whatnot, I'm not going to recommend it to everybody, but we got caught up in it. It was, it's just different to see, different walks of life that's completely different from, our upbringing or lifestyle. So it was very entertaining to say the least. And, normally stories have at least one person that is like, you got to root for in a documentary or a movie. I can't think of one person in that whole documentary that you're going to root
Yo,
for. Like, that's just so crazy to me. So,
different walks of life, man.
yeah.
Jeez Louise.
So that would be
Hey,
one. Go ahead.
no, you got it.
All American. We just finished that last night, season 2. So that's a good show. Although everybody's like 10 years older than what they.
Yeah.
We looked up the ages. They're all like, in their 30s playing 17, 18-year-old kids. I'm sure a lot of them are going to get a big break because it's top 3 in Netflix.
Yeah.
The third one would be, let's see, what have we been watching? We haven't got to Ozark just yet. We do want to get to that. We watch mostly the kids stuff. Like, I don't know if anybody knows it, but this show, Masha and the Bear. Ava will probably watch it when she gets a little bit older, but it is the only thing that puts CJ in a trance. I don't know what it is because they literally don't talk that much. It's like, and just music playing, and then so I think they're trying to let the kids tell their own story of what's going on instead of everything going on. But he just sits there, like, we'll get an hour out of him just sitting there. It's like, cool, let's make dinner. So that is we watched it this morning. So, and he just sat there, and I'm able to get his stuff ready and all that. So
That's awesome. Hey, one of the things I was going to ask you, and I've done it myself, but that intermittent fasting, did you have a tough adjustment when you first started?
Yeah, so the intermittent fasting, I've been doing it for about 1.5 years now, and I definitely see I see the benefits of it. It works well for me. That first week, really the first 3 days was really tough because, you go from you've always been taught eat 3 meals a day, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And now basically you're just cutting out breakfast. So it was really difficult for me early on, but now it's just a habit. And I think anything that you do, like some people are going to say it's difficult or it's hard, but it's become a habit for me now. And so it's really not hard. It's not difficult It's not difficult at all for me to not eat until noon. I do have a coffee in the morning. I didn't start drinking coffee until I had kids. But I have a coffee in the morning, and then I eat at noon, and then I'll eat till 8. It's been harder now because when you're at the house, like, it's like every time you walk by the kitchen, it's like, oh, let me look in here and see if I get something to eat. So
it's the boredom eating, right? That boredom eating.
Exactly.
Like, how do I combat that? But yeah, no, I've done the intermittent fasting too, and I definitely felt the benefits from it. Again, it gets difficult when you have a kid because you kind of adjust into their schedule a little bit. I was going to ask you about the coffee in the morning because I was doing that as well. And then definitely trying to limit my intake on coffee because, as you lose sleep when these newborns arrive, the cups of coffee increase, not necessarily a great thing. So really trying to limit that. But I think, I really like talking to you and a couple of my other friends about health tips and especially as it pertains to diet, because there's so many ways to achieve, health with that. And it's interesting to see people's different journeys with that because, you can take bits and pieces and kind of make it your own. So it's huge.
And I think it's more of a lifestyle, instead of a diet or a life hack. Like, you have to actually live it. If you go on a diet, and like a lot of people go on a diet right before they go on vacation, right? And so, you go on vacation, you eat and you drink and you just have fun. And then when you come back, it's harder for you to get back onto that same page because that was a diet. It wasn't really a lifestyle. And so that's the difference that I've kind of made. Like, I just look at it as a lifestyle. Are you still on it right now? The
I know. I'm not. I'm going to get back on it now with this downtime.
Right. So I do have 1 coffee a day, and I put 2 tablespoons of cream because we get the almond milk creamer,
Okay.
and it's like 2 tablespoons is about 50 calories. So you can't really, or you're not supposed to go over 50 calories for the intermittent fasting, or you break the fast. And so that's the only calories that I'll intake outside of that. And yeah.
It's been solid for you. Nice.
Cool, man. Anything else? This quarantine life is different, but hopefully we gave the listeners something to think about and maybe some entertainment. But again, it's just stuff that we're going through personally, and we know that everybody has a different boat, even if we're in the same storm.
For sure, man. I couldn't agree more.
All right, my brother. I'll talk to you very soon.
All right, man.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.